Order the regular city commission meeting. Sorry, Keisha, I forgot to make sure you're ready. Okay, I'll call to order the regular scheduled city commission meeting for the city of Carrabelle. Today is Thursday, December 5th, 2024. It's 6 p.m. and we are at the Carrabelle City Hall chambers. If everyone could please stand for the prayer and pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Most glorious and gracious Heavenly Father, great architect of the universe, giver of all good gifts and graces, we stand before you tonight thanking you for the many blessings that you have bestowed upon us. And I ask tonight that we enter into the holiday season of thanking for Jesus Christ's birthday, in which we should be celebrating and will be celebrating here shortly. I ask that you help provide and guide folks that are really in need, that have little, whether it be gifts or whether it be food or whether it be good health. Hold your hand on these folks and please continue to guide them and give them those needs that they so much need and desire. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to look over the regular meeting minutes and the special meeting minutes, as well as the attorney's invoices?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have any questions?
A motion to approve.
Okay, motion to approve by Commissioner Pedrick,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Walden. Do we have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries. At this time, would anyone like to come forward with any public comment? Miss, go ahead and just please introduce yourself.
I'm Lisa Keith Lucas. I represent the Chamber of Commerce. And if you forgive me for my obsession with power outlets and water connections and the like on the city streets, but on behalf of the Chamber, and especially Lori and I, we want to thank you for that absolutely fantastic power post that you just put in on the corner of Avenue E and Marine Street that replaces the one that's now hidden behind a fence and replaces some particular problems with the one that we had been using that is now hidden behind a fence. You guys rock. You are my heroes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I have nothing.
Okay. We'll move on to Commissioner reports. Commissioner Walden,
I have nothing tonight.
Commissioner Pedrick,
I have nothing, ma'am.
Commissioner Gray,
Nothing at this time.
and Commissioner Millender.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, that list leaves me, and I just have a little bit. So tomorrow night is our December 1st Friday. The shops, restaurants, and galleries in downtown Carrabelle will be open late with specials and treats. It's always a fun time, so join us tomorrow downtown from 5 to 8 p.m. This Saturday, we have a grand opening and ribbon cutting for a new business, Wild River Nutrition, at 1 p.m. That's at 107 Marine Street, and that's in Miss Gina's Florist old building on the corner of B and Marine Street. Followed by a special exhibit at the Carrabelle History Museum called Home for the Holidays at 2 p.m. with paintings of historical Carrabelle by Mr. Buzz Putnell. Next Saturday, December 14th, is Holiday on the Harbor and the Boat Parade of Lights in downtown Carrabelle. Vendors will line Marine Street during the day. The river will be filled with colorfully decorated boats at dark 30, followed by fireworks over the harbor. Be sure to visit all of the local shops as well, as they have many surprises and extra special offerings that day. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas and a safe and Happy New Year. Thank you. Okay, and we'll move on to staff reports. Mr. Hartman?
I have nothing tonight.
And Ms. Millender?
I sent out all the staff reports. Did everybody receive those? And do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. At last month's meeting, we didn't appoint a mayor pro tem, and so we just need to do that as part of our business tonight. So,
Okay, would anyone like to make a nomination for the mayor pro tem?
Yes, I would.
Okay,
I think I would like to nominate Mr. Mullenby as he filled in during before you became mayor. I think he would fill that position pretty well.
okay, and do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
All right, any discussion?
Yes. I'm gonna make another nomination.
Oh, you can't. We gotta vote on this one first.
Just making a little humor, Mayor. Go right ahead.
Any discussion? Any other discussion? All right, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Me.
And that motion carries, and I'm very happy for that. Thank you. Not that I'm planning on being absent.
we didn't discuss this at our CRA meeting last month, but we always cancel the December CRA meeting because there's so much going on. So I'm just going to announce that our CRA meeting is canceled for December. And I will let the other members know as well.
Thank you.
And our January meeting is January the 2nd. So would you all like to discuss rescheduling that?
What was the next date?
We would normally do it on the 9th, which would be the following Thursday.
I'm gonna make a motion that we move the meeting in January to January the 9th. Our regular monthly meeting to January the 9th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion? For this meeting, because it's not normal, can we make sure it's posted on social media and advertised really well? Because I know we have a few important things to discuss, as we normally do, so I want to just make sure everybody knows that we've rescheduled it. All right, all of those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries.
And just a comment to Miss Lisa, we are still waiting on Duke to install the meter. So hopefully we'll get that done by Holiday on the Harbor. That's what we're pushing for.
6 more business days.
Well, we can still use the one inside the fence, but
That's what I was gonna ask. We could still use the one
he
inside.
did give us permission to use that, and it is still active and hooked up. So if it doesn't get done, then we do have that meter, but it would be nice to have the new. And that's all I have for my report.
Thank you. And Ms. Keisha? You have some dates for us?
Well, the the CRA meeting has been canceled. The P&Z meeting will be December 19th at 2 p.m. We will be closed 24th and 25th for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And we will also be closed a half a day on New Year's Eve and the whole day on January 1st.
Anything else?
That's all, other than our January 9th meeting that we just discussed.
Okay. And I know Mr. Russell isn't here. Do you want to go over his report, or? Okay, thank you.
Our water management grant for Lighthouse Estates and Septic to Sewer Phase 1 and 2 is complete. They're responding to final closeout questions from FDEP. Marine Street CDBG, final pay request was received and approved. The grant administrator, which is Fred Fox, is coordinating closeout with the DEO. Wastewater treatment plant headworks improvements and wastewater treatment plant permit renewal. They're coordinating with DEP, Bill Evans on that. He's in the Pensacola office. Lanark East and West sewer improvements, they have been bid out. So we are just waiting. December 17th is when we'll have the bid opening here at 1:30 at City Hall. Water supply well number 5, Water Management District issued the permit on October the 11th. They're proceeding with the DEP construction permit for the well. We're awaiting grant award on the SCOP grant for Baywood Drive, Summer Camp Water and Sewer Interconnect, Lanark Sewer West improvements, the RIF application for stormwater and wastewater treatment plant improvements, and Southeast Avenue C overflow boat ramp parking is the still ongoing project.
Thank you. All right.
I do have one question. Courtney may not be able to, Russell may have to. Don't we have in process an application for a grant for some stormwater?
That's the RIF,
Yeah.
RIF grant.
Right.
And that would be over Avenue B, over behind the Oxendine building and the Poteet property.
Yep, there you go. Thanks.
Does anyone else have any questions? All right, and we'll move on to our advisory board reports. Do you have one, Mr. Steve Allen?
Yes, my name is Stephen Allen. I represent the Carrabelle Lighthouse Association. First, I want to announce, it didn't make your list, but we have the Blues and Barbecue event, which is a tradition in December at the Lighthouse. We have a new restaurant, one of the new restaurants in town. Will be serving the barbecue. I think they have pulled pork and pulled chicken barbecue with collard greens and mashed potatoes, or potato salad, excuse me.
What's the date?
That is the 15th. So everyone's going to be tired and worn out from doing a fabulous, wonderful holiday on the harbor. And then they're going to come out and enjoy a nice, relaxing evening with some barbecue and some blues and climbs and the regular available. So we're really excited to have a new vendor, a local vendor again, come out to do the food. The train stop is, we really appreciate them being available, but it's good to add to so we can have some variety. As I was sitting there thinking, I think back on the last year, and I just want to say thank you to the support that the City Commission and the community has given. It's been a challenging year, but I feel like at this point, we really have gotten our feet under us and have made a lot of progress. We did a walk around the park last week and did sort of a punch list of things that we see need to be done. And we're going to start working on those. And we've raised a little money. We had a successful Lantern Fest. So thank you for your guidance and support. And we'll see you at Holiday on the Harbor and the Blues and Barbecue. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Ms. Tamron, do you have anything for us tonight?
Thank you. So I'm Tamara Allen, another piece of the Allen family. Well, the mayor was kind enough to go ahead and announce we have a new exhibit opening up. I think those of you who have grown up here and lived here for a long time will appreciate these. The paintings from Buzz Putnell are quite charming. They're kind of folky, but you'll see clearly the buildings and the houses in it, and I think you'll enjoy seeing those. So even if you can't make it to the reception on Saturday, stop by and just look at them. There's like 22 of them, and you'll get a kick out of them, I promise. And so the other prospect that we've been working on with the museum for this next few months is, our big accomplishment last year was to get a historic district designated by the Department of Interior. So when you get a district, then you have an opportunity to get a marker for the district. And that was the very first thing the then mayor said to me is, where are we going to put the marker? So that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about tonight. And then the other one is, what should we say on the marker? So we took the liberty of working with a couple of the people who are good at writing this stuff up. And we looked at some various options. And then we had other people look at the draft and add to it. So I think we've gotten maybe 5 or 6 knowledgeable people that understand about markers to try to help us figure out what the text of this marker should say. And so we're proposing the draft as we passed it out to you. I believe Courtney sent it out in your materials. And the only question I had about it was whether or not it really adds to it to put all the addresses in it, because it talks about what was, say, the Rex Theater, but then it says 302 Marine Street, and, each and every place. So I'm wondering if there's a more readable way to do that for strangers. I mean, it would help people locally, but I don't think it's going to say too much to visitors. And that really who we're targeting for this marker are visitors who are interested in historic tourism, and they do stop and spend time reading these signs. And so I do think this would do the, technically we have to send it to the state marker committee, and then they have to do their, quote, reworking of it and so forth. But at least it's a place to start. So I don't know if you all want to just adopt it the way it is, if you want to give some time and thought to it and give me, the sooner we can get it in the state process, because it's probably going to take us 6 months to get it before the committee by the time we go through all the steps. So, I don't know, did anybody have any comments or thoughts about the marker or concerns about it?
Does anyone have anything they would like to share? I have some thoughts.
Personally, I like the addresses in it.
You do,
Because
okay.
if you want to know where these places was.
Right, yeah.
And, some of these, until I read this, I didn't even know was at them addresses. So I kind of like having it in there. And, your other part was where we're going to put it, and I'll just throw it out there. It's circled around the riverfront, so I think somewhere along that area is where it needs to go.
Well, and we had a recommendation that we have that one in front of Bo's Rio Carrabelle on that northwest corner of that intersection. If we could figure out a way to put it near the river, but do it on the other side of the highway. So one way you're catching people on their way west, and one way you're catching them on their way east. It might just draw their attention. So, but I think on the south side of 98 for sure.
Do you want to say something?
I was just gonna make a comment on placement. I mean, I think that they can make the decision, more or less, but my thoughts on it was, when Courtney and I were talking about it today, is the spot there at 98 and Marine Street. To me, I'm concerned about the congestion. We already have at certain times issues with pedestrians and vehicles and those kind of things.
Right.
I'm just wondering if you may want to consider placing the marker down where the propeller's going on Marine Street.
Oh,
But that may be, that may not be in what you're thinking about to keep it on 98. But that was just a thought that she and I just were throwing around
Yeah,
this
that-
afternoon. So anyway, that's the only comment I had. As far as the reading or the information or the interior or the message that you want on the plaque, from what, again, Courtney read it to me today, my computer's gone. Anyway, sound like you guys have pretty much given it a whole lot of thought, a lot of research, and you came up with with information that I would not know anything about right offhand. So, sounded good to me. That's all I had, Mayor. Thank you.
Do you have anything, Commissioner Gray?
Nothing to add, no.
I'm good with it.
I had a couple thoughts. There are a couple of buildings that are as old or older than some of these that are not listed. Like the old pharmacy building and then the old coastal cottage building. Those have been around for as long or longer. I'm not sure if they have any. I mean, I know one used to be a general store and then one was a grocery store. And grocery store and a department store, I believe.
Right.
And placement, I agree with it is getting congested on 98 and watching people almost get run over every day. I'm just glad I don't see it from my front door anymore because it's a little stressful. My thought was right there at the corner of White Kitchen where the little palm tree area is, and it has like a little garden bed. That's not in a heavy traffic area like 98. It's already got a little, grassy area that you may want to consider it, but those are just my thoughts. But everything looks good, and this is exciting.
Well, it is, and of course, we're fortunate the TDC will pay for the actual fabrication of the sign.
Super.
So it'll save us a few $1,000s, so that'll be nice. And we also discovered that the city streets and roads people are very good at putting these things in. Once we figured out we couldn't use the old flagpole, it worked really well. So, well, I'll go ahead and get in touch with the guy that staffs us at the state and get like on the list of, find out when they're gonna have their next meeting. Oh, that's a good thing.
I think you're talking about in this.
Now that we're not using that for Santa Claus anymore, it would be, we used to go through that.
There's a good bit of walking area.
Yeah,
It does not get ran over there.
Yeah.
Nothing gets run over there, at least in the last 2-3 years.
now you have to
Well-
have this particular kind
It's
of
got
pole.
its own stand and it's a
Yes.
whole thing.
Are you talking about on the side where the nutrition shop's at?
No,
Just right here in front of White Kitchen, in the flower bed.
Yeah, on the White Kitchen side of the street. Yeah, okay.
I think there's a little wooded spot on across the street, but right now she's got a hammock tied, yeah, and that
That one gets a little crowded. That's why I didn't suggest that one. And then the one on in front of Marine Street Mercantile gets a little crowded as well. Oh, there's my old van. Do we need to vote on this one, or how do we proceed?
It doesn't matter to me, whatever Ms. Tamara would like, but I kind of prefer to let Ms. Tamara and her group decide.
I agree. I mean,
That's just my opinion.
this is your
Well,
wheelhouse.
We'll be glad to get the very best sign we can get out of the state. So and we were pretty lucky the last time with getting what we wanted, so to speak. So,
And when I say they decide, they coordinate it with the city, with Courtney. And
Oh, yeah.
And then if there's any
oh, yes.
obstacles that we could need to share with them, we can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the time we get to getting to go before the committee, we'll have a specific idea where to put it. But I like those ideas you had.
So, Mayor, I know that you had some thoughts on the wording, so wouldn't it be easier for you to work with Ms. Tamara, and whenever you agree on the wording, they send it off?
I'm fine with that. I didn't really have an issue with the wording. I just know there were a couple other buildings that are prominent buildings downtown that weren't on here, so I didn't know if you guys thought about that or, and because when you're looking at this time after time after time, I get it.
Yeah, it was just, I think just trying to use some examples to make it seem as large as you could do it without putting each and every one of them on there.
True.
And Ms. Tamara, you're only covering the buildings you were noting in that writing are the ones that are within the historical district.
Right, all the ones that are cited in the,
Because there are some outside that are,
right.
yeah.
And there are also some, there are many others, there's 49 properties that contribute to the district. And obviously, we haven't, you know, we can add some more and we can change it up as well. Well, if it, I'll be glad to continue on working it through the process. If anybody has any second thoughts or has something they'd like to really be sure gets in there, then we could just, if you all will just let me know or
Okay.
let Courtney know, I won't go anywhere without showing it to Courtney.
Perfect.
So-
That sounds like a plan.
Okay. And we just look forward to having you all come to the museum, see our little holiday. I have to tell you that all the staff have made miniature scenes about various things. We all kind of challenged each other to do miniature scenes, and so there are in there something for kids that might, I mean, kids of all ages. They're quite whimsical and quite adorable. And anyway, you'll have to come see them. I'm not going to spoil the surprise, but come
That
on down.
sounds fun. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Okay, we'll move on to public hearing, which we have none. And now I would like to adjourn our regular meeting and go into the quasi judicial hearing. Got the time, Keisha? Okay. Item number 1 is approve, disapprove preliminary site plan for 209 Northwest 8th Street, and that's for Carrabelle Feed. And I believe we have someone here to speak on that. If you'd like to step forward and just say your name.
James Murray.
All right, and Miss Keisha, have they met all of the requirements?
Yes, they were approved unanimously through P&Z this month.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
That's a motion by Commissioner Millender and second by Commissioner Pedrick. Do we have any discussion? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you.
James.
Thank you. We're glad you're on our side of the
Yeah.
bridge. Thank you.
Yeah, buddy.
You have a good night. All right, item number 2, approve, disapprove preliminary site plan for 712 Northwest Avenue B for Stone's Lumber. And do we have a Stone's Lumber representative here? Please state your name.
I'm Don Venable.
Okay, and Ms. Keisha, did they meet all the requirements?
Yes, this one was also approved unanimously through P&Z.
And this is just a preliminary, right?
Yes, preliminary.
And we'll be back again for the final, right?
Yes, in January.
A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay. And do we have any discussion? I just have a question. So this is gonna go next to the old house? Is it like a new warehouse?
The old house and the existing metal building are being torn down. And
Gotcha.
it will go right in directly across from their lumber yard.
Okay. I drove by today and I'm like, there's a lot of stuff on this. What are they trying to build? But that makes perfect sense. All right, any other discussion? All of those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you.
being here.
And we will reconvene our regular commission meeting at this time. Got the time? Okay. And new business, item number 1 is discussion and possible action concerning drainage issues, and this was requested by Mr. Matt Morton. Is Mr. Morton here tonight? Okay. Ms. Millender, would you like to go over some things regarding this item?
I will. You guys received some emails this month from Mr. Morton, who was complaining about some drainage issues. He lives over at Lake McKissick, that's right there off of Airport Road, and previously he lived right here on Gray Avenue, right along the Stitchway here. And so he is complaining about the drainage issues, or more that he believes that the city should be keeping that drainage clean.
And that's for Gray Avenue, not
Gray
Lake
Ave,
McKissick.
all of it, all over the city. He's not the only one. We've had drainage issues before. We've had people that come in and complain. Most of these are natural waterways. They run across people's private property. I know that Russell and I and Dustin have went out and walked some of these drainage through the drainage. I thought Dan may could give us some feedback, some legality on us entering private property. I know that he's met with Commissioner Millender before, and he can tell you he thinks that this is it is our responsibility and that we should be maintaining these.
And again, these are on private property.
These run across private property.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hartman?
All right, so what we've got, at least on the Gray Avenue drainage basin, you have the little creek that runs through there, runs by Commissioner Miller's, well, part of it, a branch of it, comes across through your property. And sort of the bottom line is this, that where it crosses under roadways and it's crossing our right-of-way, then that is our responsibility to keep those culverts clean and that portion of it clear and flowing. It is not technically, even though we have helped some people out, it is not our responsibility and we're trespassing if we do it against someone without someone's permission to go on their property and mess with that waterway. And I know beavers and things do block it up, and historically some property owners have, which then backs it up sometimes to our right of way. So some property owners have allowed us to come in and clear things out, but that we cannot do that without permission. So I listened to a number of the voicemails. I've talked with Courtney a bit about this. It's not, he's kind of missing the forest for the trees as far as I don't know that he owns property along there. I'm a little bit confused as his standing or stake in it, but if it's just overall he wants stormwater to flow properly through the city, we all share that, obviously, goal. But bottom line, that is the individual property owner's responsibility, and they bear, a lot of times they're the ones that bear the bad side of it, because it's backing up and flooding their property. Well, they need to keep the creek clear on their property.
Right.
So, nothing.
Thank you.
So any questions, certainly, but everybody who was here during the Poteet issue, kind of, that's a good, has elements of it, where, Mr. Poteet's property, we can't go on that property without his permission to clear out an outfall from our stormwater system. That's just how it is. So we take care of our piece. We hope property owners take care of theirs. If they don't, again, as a courtesy, and it does help it flow, we've, with their permission, enter their property. That's the extent of it.
But we don't take it upon ourselves to go contact property owners to go onto their property and clean out their drains and things like that. Is that correct?
Correct. And we don't have, an easement, a continuing easement or anything across their property for that, especially when it's natural like that. If it was an old stormwater ditch or something, you still have disputes over those things, but a lot of times if it's installed by the county or by the city and then maintained, we can acquire kind of an easement through there. Sometimes a flat out ownership of it, but to my understanding, that is a natural
Right.
conveyance.
It's always been there.
Yeah.
Would you like to comment on it?
A little bit.
Okay.
And Dan can step in from a legal standpoint. Cause I've had conversation with, Mr. Morton a couple of times. He was that was back when he was over here on Gray Avenue. He felt like that the city owned the waterway. The waterway that's in discussion, that I'm discussing right now, is the one that goes right behind this building here, all the way to the coast. It starts at Highway 67 and Avenue F, and that drains that entire swamp. Every bit of it's on private property. But Mr. Morton, at that time that he and I talked, he felt like that the city owned those waterways. God made those waterways, that they were not dug. They're natural drainages that God made. So they were not dug. And I explained to him that we don't own those. And just as the attorney just described, we do not have the authority to go on private land. But yet and still, we try to help and be good to the citizens, but it's not our requirement to keep those waterways clean. They're on private property, and the private property owners are the ones that's responsible for what's on their property. Am I right, Mr. Hartman?
That is correct.
Okay. And, but again, we try to be neighborly and be good and do the best we can, but lately it has become really cumbersome for our streets and roads folks between this drainage here that I just described and the drainage is over on Airport Road. Correct, Ms. Courtney?
Street, southeast,
Exactly.
there's several.
It's endless.
But they've become really burdensome to our streets and roads and just consuming a tremendous amount of their time, and the beavers, et cetera, et cetera. But I would just hope that the people, the citizens, will understand that that is not the city of Carrabelle's responsibility to maintain those waterways. I'll go back, Commissioner Walden can step in here if he wants to. I'll go back to what I experienced and remember many years ago, that particularly this waterway here, and it was that way all over the county in natural drains, that the mosquito control in the county kept those ditches maintained for mosquito control. They kept them, this one right here used to be spick and span clean from 67 all the way to the coast. You could walk the edges of the ditch and it was just as clean as it could be. But that doesn't happen anymore. But mosquito control was doing that. The city of Carrabelle was not doing that. I think the city of Carrabelle was helping to a certain degree with the resources they had, but mosquito control was actually taking care of that. And I don't know what mosquito control's legality was at that time, that they were on private property doing all that work, so I have no idea what the details were of that. But anyway, if the people could understand that it is really not the city of Carrabelle's responsibility to maintain control of those ditches, their flow, and the beavers, etc., but we'll do the best we can, but we can't. We don't have the staff to dedicate to it continuously. Right,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Courtney?
That's correct.
Okay. And the other thing, be patient with our staff. There's been some, and I'm gonna try to be kind, there's been some ugliness, if you will, to our city staff. And be kind to them. They're doing the best they can with what they have. I'll leave that alone. So, anyway.
Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to comment on this item?
I just have one question, and Dan can probably clear it up for me. Just because we install culverts over roads does not make us responsible for private property.
Right, and when we install culverts, I mean, depending on the width of the right-of-way, but I mean, it can be as much as 60 foot. So we own where we have the pavement as well as beyond on each side, we would maintain that, right? So
Right.
that is our responsibility. So, I mean, think of it this way, because this is obviously what everybody fusses about. You get a bad storm and someone gets flooded. We don't want that to be because one of our culverts caused that flood. And
Exactly.
Like that's the concern. If it's a beaver dam on your property that causes it to back and flow over our road, we could literally send them to, I mean, that could be a public nuisance. And we would, I'm going to say, if we weren't as accommodating as we are, we would actually get on that property owner and say, hey, you're causing damage to city property, neighboring property, all this. We need you to remove that beaver dam. And they would say, well, but they would have to deal with it. But currently, my understanding is we've just been working with people and who say, look, I can't deal with it. Can you help me out? Sure, if you give me permission to come across your property, and we've done it, right? We spent money clearing right down through there.
Right. And I know, and I'd just like to say thanks to the streets and roads, because I know not too long ago, before all these storms did, they was everywhere clearing them out to make sure that flooding did not happen. So, thank y'all.
Well, and thank you, sir. Our city staff is going the extra mile and have been going the extra mile, but there's a limit to what they can do. And a limit to what we are entitled to do, legally and otherwise.
I want to say that we have these inmates that our staff goes pick up to prison, and they're definitely not allowed to be on private property. That is a no-no.
You got it.
So for us to send our crew out there, we'd have to go check the inmates in and put it's still private property, but we cannot put inmate labor on that private property. So I'm like Mr. Milner. If we go out of our way, I talk to Dusty all the time. He's constantly going down, breaking beaver dams up. But he does it on his own. He's a supervisor. He don't have inmates, so he can take his own time and work on these ditches. But we do feel their pain, and like Mr. Milner said, we'll do anything we can to help these people. I have the same problem at my house. I have drainage problems too, and I take care of a lot of it myself. And if I need help, I call Dusty and he'll come down and he does help me. So just let everybody know we're doing all we can do.
Would anyone else like to comment on this item?
Hi, Ken Siegert. As a property owner in another state, waterfront, isn't normally, I think it's the FWC down here and the DEP, don't they control the waterways and the lakes and things like that? And actually a property owner, his property ends at the high water line. So he doesn't actually own the waterway, especially if it's a natural waterway. I'm just asking the question.
Okay, Mr. you wanna
Go
answer
ahead.
that?
So typically in Florida, if it's a navigable waterway,
There you
then the submerged land would belong to the state. And just as you're saying, the regulation varies. They're all over the state. You've heard all the horrors of mangroves. If someone nowadays clips a little bit off in the Keys, they're going to jail and facing a huge fine. We, in the Northwest District of Florida, we're sort of the final, historically, we've been some of the least regulated on some of this, but doesn't feel like that, but we were, or have been. But at the same time, if that's not a navigable water, then it is very possible that the property owner owns the bottom.
Okay.
So it'd be their responsibility.
That's good to know. All right.
And
These are not navigable.
Right. The argument, in I've worked with DEP for 25 years, but I don't think it ever would have been called navigable, but you have different interpretations of what's navigable. Obviously, what you're talking about around the country, I'll leave it alone, won't belabor it, but you have different administrations running whichever agencies, but they'll, some people, they'll try to regulate puddles on farmers' property, and other ones, which has been real, I mean, they really get into it.
Well-
And then other people, in another administration, they might say, oh, we're not doing that, it needs to be a river you can put a canoe in, or a water body you can put a canoe in and paddle to another, navigable channel and go on out. So the interpretation from what you're talking about, like if you were in Massachusetts, they probably would regulate the hell out of it. In the Panhandle of Florida, it isn't as highly regulated yet.
Well, let me add to that. It is not navigable, and that's what I was gonna add, Mayor. But, and the other side of that, Attorney, is these are intermittent drainages. These drainages are completely dry at times. These drainages do not have water in them constantly.
Okay.
So there's times that he mentioned one of the drainages goes across the corner of my property. There's times that I mow the bottom of that drainage with my lawnmower. And then there's times that it's 5 foot deep. So it's intermittent drainages and streams. It's not nowhere near big enough, and it doesn't hold water constantly to be a navigable water source.
Okay, well, my question went to, as a possible resource for these property owners to get help if it was that kind of situation. So that's why I brought it up. So, thank you.
That's a good point.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, if we have no further discussion, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.